Six Flags has named John Riley as its new CEO. And this isn't just another corporate headline. It's a move that could have real impact on Kings Island and parks across the chain. In this Tower Topics episode, we're sharing thoughts about this decision, what Riley's background in the industry means for the guest experience, and why Kings Island fans should be paying close attention to what happens next.
I'm Ryan. He's Don. This is Tower Topics. Hey, it's Thanksgiving season, so let's give a big thank you to our Prestige members. I want to give a big shout out to Miss Mandy, 1983, Lil Mac, 21, Brian Hauser, 330T, Aaron Bort, Jacob Fix, Damon Barnes, Dakota Cole, Eric Grau, Dustin Jackson, Songstress Miku, Medic 302, Eastern Coaster, guys and girls, Justin White, Mike Garrett, Galaxy B-Boy, and Greg Eversol. Thank you guys so much for supporting Tower Topics at the highest level. That's the Prestige level. If you want to be involved in Tower Topics, there's a link in the description. Members get early access to the videos, exclusive content, exclusive live streams, and some tiers you can get some free stuff. So hit that link. It starts at just $2.99 a month. If it's asking you for more, you're doing it wrong. Use the link in the description.
So Ryan, I remember you on one of our episodes, you kind of thought that Six Flags would name its CEO right around Thanksgiving, and that's exactly what happened here with John Riley. Now, I don't know John Riley personally. I was aware of the name, during the years I worked in the industry and that. But what I really like about this, Ryan, is that the company, it's going to be led by someone that's got like 30 years of experience inside the industry, an operations background, but they're going to face a lot of challenges, coming in. So it's not like, all of a sudden everything's, turned around, it's fixed, everything's in a great spot right now. A lot of challenges ahead, but, having lived, this industry story for decades, as a guest behind the scenes, as a storyteller for fans and families, I'm approaching this moment with John Riley with cautious optimism.
Yeah. So I know that there was some controversy online of, I went to some of the park entertainment parks and or SeaWorld when he was there and stuff, and I didn't have a good experience. I think you need to throw that out the window because that's not the CEO himself. I've said all along that who they choose as CEO is going to be far more telling than you could ever imagine. And it's not going to be if they get a Disney guy, we're going to get more themed attractions, or if we get, somebody that works in the carnivals that we're going to get more like portable attractions, nothing like that. The CEO position was going to be filled by somebody that's going to help the company take the next steps. And the fact that they picked a park operator and not somebody that's like a specialty CEO for, a certain corporate action that nobody wants to talk about, it tells me that the company and this gentleman both think that there's a way out of this.
Oh yeah. And, Riley, he brings the exact kind of experience and mindset that the company desperately needs at this point in time. But as every park veteran knows, the intent, all the things he wants to do, it only matters, if execution is going to follow. Words are one thing. Everyone wants to see the execution take place. Six Flags, with this decision, they could not afford to get it wrong at this moment in its history. If the board gives them the autonomy, that's going to be important. Gives them the capital and the strategic freedom to execute his vision, not everyone else's vision, but his vision. And if he, remains relentless in prioritizing the guest experience, which he said he's all about, is improving the guest experience, the customer service end of things. I think there's a real opportunity here to turn around both the guest sentiment toward Six Flags and the company's financial trajectory.
Yeah, and I want to go back on this thing again. I mean, with the Richard Zimmerman situation, nobody had an issue with Richard Zimmerman until the merger. Then the merger happens, things quickly go downhill, and all of a sudden they're closing parks, they're cutting hours, they're running one train, and people were like, I thought Six Flags was going to become Cedar Fair, not the other way around. But one thing that we've definitely taken away from this is that the activities that Six Flags had from 2002, 2003 on up until the merger was completely out of necessity. They didn't have the money to do great maintenance, so they only were able to have one of the 3 trains available, or they didn't have the operating budget for it and stuff. It was never a decision of the park management. So all of a sudden they merge. Cedar Fair is drugged down by legacy Six Flags debt and financial situation and so on, as well as their own. We got to give credit where credit's due. And then all of a sudden they're making the same decisions. So with that being said, people quickly turn from, either not having an opinion about Zimmerman or having a high opinion about him to he should be fired. He's the worst guy ever. He's evil, that kind of stuff. Well, the same's going to be true with this new CEO. He's going to have to work within the confines of whatever the company lays out for him. He's got a vision. You're right. He needs to be able to execute that vision. He needs to be open for interpretation. He needs to be open for guest feedback and, move forward with a vision that takes risks and, it is about improving the guest experience instead of trying to underhand the guests. Mind you, things such as the 5% surcharge that they had a bunch of Six Flags parks, which was illegal in a lot of jurisdictions, as they found out.
Yes.
Stuff like you start to get. I'm going to make this analogy, and I don't want it to come off as insensitive, but when you talk about like a lot of crime, when we talk about petty theft, it's also often people that are poor, and poor people often steal because they need to. It's out of necessity. So when Six Flags is doing these things that were kind of ethically questionable, in my opinion, at least, it was because they desperately needed to bring in the capital. It wasn't like, let's see what we can do next to these people. So I think the big takeaway is the fact that it's a park operator. I really don't care where he's from. I don't care what he's done in the past. The fact that he's a park operator is incredibly telling. And I think that's what excites me about that and makes me think that there might actually be a future for Six Flags, at least semi as we know it, at least in their vision and at least in Mr. Riley's vision. He would certainly not go in if he didn't see a path out, an escape plan from the debt.
Yeah, no, like I said, I didn't know him. I did get an opportunity over the past couple of days since the announcement was made to talk to some people who do. That had worked with him, and they had nothing but good things to say about him as a person. They said, really good person. He's got integrity and all those kind of things, the things you want to hear. So that's coming from people on the inside. There's a lot of noise on the outside, like you mentioned, when you look at the different groups and that. But he definitely had, from the people I talked with, that they thought that this was a good hire for Six Flags, but, they say he's going to have some big ideas in that. But before those big ideas can, kind of take hold, the fundamentals are going to have to be right. That means that the parks, the staffing levels that support smooth operations are going to have to be there. You're going to have the efficient, queue flow with all the different parks that are out there. Some are very good, some are not. You're going to have to get that better in line. Clean environments. That's very important. Guest-focused amenities, that make the visitors feel welcome from, the moment they arrive. That's going to be important. This seems to be, part of his DNA, trying to do those kind of things. So I'm excited about, like I said, cautiously optimistic, excited about this. But, when the basics, if they're all done well, everything else is going to flow from there. But again, it's going to be how much free reign is he actually going to have to put his vision into play here, or is his hands going to be tied?
Do you think that he would walk into a situation where he's CEO and his hands are tied, though?
You just don't know. I mean, we still don't know who all the board members are going to be and all, so, I mean, there's just a lot of things in play. That's something that it's misunderstood with Richard Zimmerman and all the, the complaints and the shots and everything everybody was taking at him, is he just doesn't walk into a room and say, here's what we're doing. He's got a lot of people that he's got to work with. But I think, one of the things that's going to be really challenging for him, we're a couple years into this now, is going to be that merger integration. It's going to add some value. Six Flags and Cedar Fair, them coming together, it created enormous potential. We've talked about that multiple times, that the potential that was there, but also complexity. The real question is whether the company will truly harness the best of both legacy brands. That hasn't happened yet. or simply, cut cost in ways that affect the guest experience. We started to see a little bit of that this past year. I think when you talk about, integration, it should feel like evolution, not erosion.
Yeah, I agree. Now the thing that kind of makes me excited about this. So you talked about like him executing his vision. We don't know who the board members are and stuff, and I completely agree with you all that. Um, Zimmerman probably had his hands tied. Zimmerman was in a situation where he had to answer to the board for everything, and as the stock and the revenues and every number really was going down. That's when it became the board going to him saying, you got to cut costs, you got to do this, you got to do that. Now, with that being said, the CEO does have final say. But the board has to approve major things, like when they closed Six Flags America, the board had to vote on that, I'm sure. But they would never be able to attract talent with like, hey, we need you to helm this ship, but you're at the mercy of the board. Like, they have to attract talent. And the reason why this guy came over is because he felt like he was going to have the freedom to do it. Just the reason why any CEO came over. Now, it's quite possible that 6 months from now, things aren't any better and he's in the same situation as Zimmerman. I mean, that's entirely possible. But I'm confident that going into it, at least he has some sort of assurance that he's going to have the autonomy to execute his plan and, come in with his vision and do what he needs to do. The thing about being CEO is it's the top boss, but it's also they work for the board. The board can fire them. So their outcome is going to be the results, and their bonus is going to be on the results, and whether or not they either resign or maybe they were asked to resign, Zimmerman, is based on the results. So going in with a clean slate, he's either going to have one of two things. He's going to be able to run it like it is now and continue to cut costs to make the numbers look better that way at the expense of the long-term future, or he can come in and he can take risks. He can spend money. He can spend money to make money and stuff like that. That's the sort of thing where, it's like the SeaWorld CEO situation where they went through a lot of them after their Blackfish documentary era, and when Blackstone owned them. Anything, 2 words with black in it is bad for SeaWorld. It seems like Blackstone, BlackRock, Blackfish. But so that was one of the things, the CEOs were brought in to make results, and they didn't, and they were gone in a year. We even had Joel Manby on here, one of the best leaders that in the industry's ever seen, and even he didn't really last. So he's going to go in with some autonomy, I'm sure, but it's a matter of, can he produce results, and can he produce them relatively quickly?
And one of the things he said right off the bat in the press release that was issued by Six Flags was that he made it clear in his quote that his goal is to deliver greater experiences for the guests. That sounds good if you're a season pass holder or planning a visit to any Six Flags park, but also creating value for shareholders. So that sounds good on that end. Those two goals, they don't have to compete against each other. They can fuel each other, and I think that'll be important to be able to do it that way, where each is fueling the other. So I'm going to be paying close attention to whether the company's performance reflects that balance through the share price, free cash flow, the margins, what the guest experience has become, all those different things. So it's going to be a real interesting time as we look toward the 2026 season and beyond. Like I said, a lot of challenges that he's going to face coming in. It's not the you're not succeeding someone who just retired and everything is running at peak performance. They got a long way to go to get back on track with the company. Get it back to that footing that Cedar Fair had gotten to under Matt Ouimet before he stepped down. They were heading in the right direction. And that's what's going to have to happen here. You're going to need to see him turn it around and get it headed back into the right direction. And there's a long, long way to go. Everybody got excited because the stock price went up a little bit. It's still only $14, $15, a far cry, from what it was not too long ago. So there's a lot of work to be done here.
Yeah, I actually didn't check it today. And I'm only going to do this because stock price for one day means absolutely nothing. That's a drop in a bucket. It doesn't matter. But we are still in the reaction period to the news. So how are we doing?
It jumped up to like $27 when Travis Kelce went from like $22 to $27 after that announcement, and then it dropped all the way down. It was, into the $12 range, so, last week. So it's not in a spot where it needs to be. I mean, it really needs to grow significantly, or, tough times will continue to be ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Yeah. It's we're going to see changes starting next year, by the way. Long-term evolution of the company is going to take years, but a CEO always comes, and that's the thing. A CEO always comes in with their own vision. You're going to see a lot of things change. Like all the C-suite will probably be replaced because he's going to bring in his own people.
I think you have to, when you're in that position and you're coming from outside the company, in order to get everything going the way you want it and your vision to be embraced and supported, you need your own people, because there's always, you have too many carryovers. Oftentimes, they resent change. They don't want to see change with that. And I think that sometimes can be a problem. So I would think that you're right, that there would be a sweep in the C-suite, and there would be new people coming in that are people that, he's either worked with before, or he feels very good that they're buying into what he wants to do.
Yeah. And I'm just, this isn't a referendum on Tim Fisher or anybody else that's in the C-suite. This is just what we typically see. I mean, if the Bengals were to fire Zach Taylor and hire a new head coach, he'd bring in his own coaching staff, wouldn't he?
If he was allowed to, he would. That's the way it works sometimes in the NFL. Sometimes, ownership in that, they have certain people, or the general manager has certain people that they're, wanting to see stick around in that. So some organizations, you have full autonomy. Others, you're just happy to have a head coaching job, 1 of 32. So you take what's already there. So, but Ryan, what do you think? Let's talk about season passes and ticket pricing. And they really, I think, kind of wrecked their season pass program when they made it $99 this past summer. That they brought that pricing down. They were telling the industry that you're the Walmart of the industry. Like, you would think that there's a lot of value in going to these parks, but the pricing said otherwise. I disagreed with that. I know a lot of people in the industry disagreed with what they were doing as well too, that they thought it was too cheap. They were giving away the gate, and you can't win that way. It was a way to maybe get some quick cash without thinking about the long term. I think.
Remember when I said Six Flags doing desperate things because they desperately needed money?
Yeah.
Put that on that shelf too.
Yeah. But I think one of the things we're going to see here is that season pass pricing is going to grow back to the level to where it should be for the parks that they have in the portfolio. I think your $99 season passes is not going to be there. I think that's one of the things that John Riley will change. He will feel that there's value here, and when there's value, there's a cost associated with that. And it's not $99 for a season pass to get you into all the parks. That's, I think, is one of the things that we will see. I could be wrong, be 100% wrong, but I just feel like that's going to be one of the things that will change. I do think there will be a greater emphasis on the customer service. I think that you will see, it won't be the Kings Island team sending you an email when you contact guest services. It will be a name associated with that. So it's more personable. I think little things like that, little touches like that can make a big difference. And I think those are some of the things that we'll see implemented as he gets settled and starts to put his plan in place.
Yeah, I don't know what his theories are on customer service, but it's it definitely drifted away from where it was. Now, with that being said, and I feel like I bring this up every week that we record these things. We had a lot of fears about Kings Island this year, and it seems like some of them came true, but a lot didn't. And there are certain things that are just, I think, unacceptable. The Kings Island team email thing is one, and We had some issues with guest services where somebody said, well, I'm not going to come back. And they were like, yeah, right. Or whatever. Stuff like that definitely needs to be corrected. But I feel like maybe Zimmerman, he's not directly responsible for customer service. His vision definitely dictates it though, and
Right.
that comes down the chain. But I'm wondering if he maybe kind of lost a few of those fundamentals because he had other things to worry about, to his credit, actually. And John Riley's going to come in with a clean slate. I mean, he's going to come up with the same issues, but he's going to personally have a clean slate. And maybe he can come in with the theories of, hey, if we do right to the guests, they're going to do right to us and stuff. There's a lot of stuff that the
Funny
guests,
how that works, isn't it? When you do right by the guest, the customer, they do right by you. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's, the theme park industry, restaurants, stores, it's a two-way street there.
right. And I definitely have torn feelings about that because on one hand, I tell people this all the time. That's a business, not a charity. If you were hurt for money, they wouldn't give you a free season pass. So don't spend money there because they're hurting for money. But at the same time, you purchasing from them being their client, that's a partnership. And, when you have Grand Carnival, which is a great event, and I love the parade and I created these memories and stuff. Yeah, I want to buy the t-shirt, but if it's, we're not doing the parade this year or less food and stuff, it's kind of like, oh, that's going on again. Like it doesn't inspire that for me. So that partnership, the symbiotic relationship that people, especially with Kings Island's market, with the season pass holders who have an emotional connection to the park, that's something that should be fostered. It shouldn't be something that's taken advantage of. I feel like sometimes they do. I think that there's a lot of times when, you've told us about conversations that they had internally when you were still there, as adorable as it is predictable and things of that sort, where it's like, you guys are in the wrong business if that's how you feel about your customers.
Oh, exactly.
But with that being said, there's a new sheriff in town, and I don't know how hard he is on customer service or keeping parks clean. Like we know very little about this guy, aside from the research you did, really. But the fact of the matter is, the status quo is probably not going to be acceptable.
No, it gave me a chance to reach out to some people that I hadn't spoken to, in a while, and need to keep, better in touch with. But they all had good things to say. But here's another thing that I think about too is when you look at Richard Zimmerman, financial guy, that's his background.
Mm-hmm.
Chief financial officer, that kind of a thing. That was his background. And when you have the top of the organization is comprised of people with that background, finance, you look at everything through those colored glasses. You're trying to get every penny that you can. What's going to cost? Can we operate this more efficiently with less people? You're looking at everything through that lens. When you have someone that's coming in now with John Riley, who has an operational background, they look at it as, if we do the right things with the guest experience, the money's, we're going to generate more revenue because they're going to feel, happier during their visit. They're going to be more inclined to spend money. They're going to be more inclined to buy season passes, come back the next year and all that. So there's different ways to generate the revenue like that. And I feel like having a different lens at the top, that I think that can help, and maybe everything won't come across as, what is perceived by a lot of guests, not my words, but words that we see out there online all the time, as a money grab.
Mm-hmm. And some stuff is, some stuff absolutely is a money grab. And let me give you an example of a fair argument for a money grab, but one I actually disagree with, and that's the Haunt Maze upcharge. It's a money grab. They were free last year. Well, actually, at most of the parks, I agree that it's a money grab because you're getting what you got for free last year. They're charging for this year for really no reason at all. Well, until the end when they gave up on it.
Right.
But at Kings Island, like, we got an upgraded product. So yeah, we got charged for the mazes that we had the previous years for free. But, with Order of the Dragon, if you're going to give me that quality, I'm willing to pay for it. So that's the difference between, to your point, a park person and a finance person, because a finance person would be like, we need to monetize these mazes. And a park person, at least in my opinion, would be, why don't we make the mazes so good that people would be willing to pay for them? I feel like that's like the mentality.
You're exactly right. No, I mean, Ryan, you're spot on with that.
Yeah. All right. Well, leave us a comment. Do you know anything about this guy? What are your thoughts? What do you think this means for the future of Six Flags? We'd love to hear about it, obviously, down in the comments. Don, you want to meet some of the listeners of Tower Topics at some point?
I do. We're looking to have a Tower Topics meetup on December 20th. The park will be open from 4 to 10. More details to come. We want to make sure that we've got the show lineup, finalized and can kind of map out the itinerary, what that night would look like, what shows we would see together. We're thinking the Tinker Show we would want to see together, the parade, we would all want to get together in a group to watch that. We'd want to ride the Grand Carousel. We'd want to ride the train, ice skating, so we'll put that together with the times that where we would be when. You don't have to go station to station in that with us when we're going to have these different, places in the park where we're all going to do things together, or you could stick with us from start to finish. It would be up to you with that. But again, December 20th, more details to come. If you're a member of our Facebook group, there will be an event that will be created, a Facebook event for this meetup. And, we certainly hope to see you there.
Yeah. And since we have people that watch the show, do you think any of them are talented photographers?
I think quite a few are very talented photographers, and that kind of inspired what we're going to do during Winterfest. We're going to have a Tower Topics photo contest. And the way this contest is going to work is you're going to need to take a photo of this year's Winterfest. So last year's won't be accepted. So when you snap your photos during your visits to Winterfest, what we would like you to do is to send those to us by email at host@towertopics.com, host@towertopics.com. Put in the subject line, enter me. That's all you got to put is enter me on the subject line. Couple rules. You've got to be a subscriber to Tower Topics on YouTube. We're not talking about the membership. We're just talking about subscribing to Tower Topics on YouTube. Take a screenshot of that, include that attachment with your photo attachment, and send it to us at, again, host@towertopics.com. And then what we're going to do with the photos is we'll have it run through the month of December, and then on December 22nd we'll close it off, and we will put the 4 finalists will go into our Facebook group, and whichever ones get the most votes, that's going to be the winner of the inaugural Tower Topics Winterfest photo contest. So again, December 21st will be the deadline. And then starting on the 22nd, we'll have those photos published there for you. Winner will be announced on the January 2nd episode. And what you're going to win, if you are the winner of the photo contest, you will have what we'll call a mystery box. So it'll have some, Kings Island related items in there for you. Tower Topics t-shirt will go in there. It'll be one of the originals that we had done before we launched the online store. And you'll get the t-shirt, other things in this mystery box, and just something fun to do.
So Don clued me in on at least one of the things in the mystery box, and I will tell you, if you love Kings Island, first of all, it's from Don's private collection, and you know how much crap he has in his garage. His wife complains about it constantly, but it's one of the things is something that will be one of the cores of your collection if you collect Kings Island stuff. It's I would argue that it's a relic of Kings Island. Very, very cool. But yeah, so we'll do that. We're gonna have more information to come. Just send it to host HOSTS. I know we were asked about that a couple months ago. HOSTS, hosts@towertopics.com. We want to see your photos. Don and I will be the ones judging. Maybe we'll have Noah, the field reporter, help us pick.
Yeah, we'll get some other eyeballs on it. It won't just be us. And then we'll get to the 4 finalists, and then those will be published on our Tower Topics Facebook group starting on December 22nd. So before I'm on there, and whichever photo gets the most likes, that will be our inaugural winner, and it should be a lot of fun. There's a lot of great photos that we've seen by those that listen to Tower Topics, subscribe to Tower Topics. So, we'll love to see this. But again, just remember, it's got to be from this year's Winterfest. We'll know if it's not a photo from this year, because there's always little changes in the park that you can always line up a photo and tell that's not this year.
Well, there's 2 million more lights last year, so we'll be able to tell.
No, but this will be fun. This will be fun. And again, just make sure that, you are a subscriber. It's free to subscribe to our YouTube channel. After you win, you can unsubscribe if you'd like. It doesn't matter on that. But just, it's just one of the rules. We want to make sure that you actually are a fan of Tower Topics to participate in this contest.
I mean, I feel like I agree with the subscribe thing, but if you're gonna not subscribe to Tower Topics, then subscribe, then enter the contest, and then win, and then unsubscribe, like, more power to you, bro.
There are those people out there. There are those people. You know that. Hey, we got one more.
Or are people allowed to do more than one entry?
Yeah, one entry per person. Let's go with one entry per person.
One entry per person, and
one entry per person.
No purchase necessary. Blah blah blah.
No.
All right,
but hey, we got one more thing before we move on to listener questions. We want to congratulate former Kings Island's communications director Chad Showalter. Landed a new job. He is working now for the Kenton County Library. Those are good jobs, so we're excited to see, that Chad has landed in a new place, and it should be a great opportunity for him. It's an opportunity for him to probably expand a little bit on what he was doing at Kings Island, which was pretty much, relegated to the communications end, but he'll get to do, more things there, be part of development and those kind of things. So again, congratulations to Chad.
Yeah. They actually, what's funny, Don? You wouldn't think about PR in the library, but there is, you would be a really good library PR person with the way that you ran PR at Kings Island. That was if you read books. But because they do a lot of like little things of like, oh, story time with the Teletubbies, yeah, whatever. They do a lot of little stuff like that. And I feel like you could have a camera out there like every week very easily. So,
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of storytelling opportunity. There's a lot of, I always use the word brand journalism, becoming the media yourself. You get to do that when you work at a library. You get to have your own kind of like news room on your website where you're writing your blogs. And I know Chad's already had, a couple stories up since he got there. So it's a good, like I said, a good opportunity for him. Those are really good jobs. Just again, congratulations on that position.
Congratulations, Chad. And you got to practice your library shush.
You do. Yeah, exactly with that. So you got to brush up on Dr. Seuss, I guess, if you work in a library.
Yeah, or Victor Hugo, my favorite. Okay. Yeah, congratulations, Chad. We'll be right back with the listener questions.
And now it's time for the Tower Topics listener questions.
First listener question, Greg from St. Bernard. He said, these haters you have on Reddit say they won't give you a nickel by buying I Hate Tower Topics shirt from your store, but aren't they giving you dimes by listening to every word you say on every episode?
Good point there, Greg. No one ever said that the haters that we have there are the sharpest knives in the drawer. They just like to fire their shots at us. It'll be interesting with John Riley now as a CEO if it's going to be acceptable to have employees, spending their time on Reddit, taking shots at people versus, doing your job. But we'll see. But no, it's the thing about it is they listen to the show. At the end of the day, that's all that matters.
Yeah, I mean, if they could become members too, that'd be awesome. What if they like became members with the username like Tower Topics Sucks, and I like became a
I mean, it's like I said, but it's irrelevant cool. Whether I mean, we love our haters, and if we didn't have that, that would really be a strong indication that we're doing something wrong. If everybody loves every single thing that you're doing, you got to have a little bit of that out there. And, at least they've got their own little group for the 4 or 5 of them out there to just kind of hang out with each other and take the shots.
I do have kind of a feeling, again, new CEO, new sheriff in town, and that's going to cause a trickle down effect. So I wonder, because they have come to us and they said, who are these people? And we've always been like, well, no, we know exactly who it is.
We know who some of them are now. Not every single one of them. I mean, we probably know, say 6 of them. I think it's 6.
Yeah,
was who we've been able to uncover who they are. Some people have exposed them, to us, and some of them do work at the park. Some of them are doing the bidding for some at the park. So it's, like I said, it's a very small group. But if you didn't have people doing that, then that would make me concerned, Ryan, that not everything we were doing was right. That you got to strike a nerve sometimes with some people, and that, but just the fact that they feel like we got to watch every episode and they got to, comment. They stalk my Facebook and my Twitter and stuff, because anytime I post something, there's, screenshots of it and everything. If I post something positive, like I replied to a Kings Island post, very positive about something, there was, I don't know, it was Phantom Theater or maybe it was Orion or something, but there's screenshots saying, oh, he's just trying to get invited to media day now. Or if I say something like, oh, here he is, he's upset, he's not working anymore, that's why he posted that. You can't win with those people, so you don't waste any time on those people.
Well, and I mean, it doesn't matter what they think, and honestly,
no, it doesn't. They're not gonna. Here's the thing: no matter what, there is nothing at all that they can do to put Tower Topics, off of the podcast. They can't end the show. There's no way that they have any impact whatsoever on what we're doing with this show. We're going to keep doing it the way we do it, and they have zero impact on that.
And I made that I Hate Tower Topics shirt especially for that demographic, and I'm a little hurt that they wouldn't spend a nickel on the I Hate Tower.
No, but they'll give us dimes by listening to every word we say on every episode.
All right, enough about that.
Keep listening, people. Keep listening. We love it.
Gene from Cincinnati said, would you ever consider offering a discounted rate for Tower Topics memberships if paid annually instead of monthly, specifically for prestige or gold memberships?
Ryan, that's going to be a question I'm going to let you answer because you pretty much have managed the membership program. So what are your thoughts here?
I would love to do that. Actually, the model that I would use, and this is like spitballing, is so for example, for like Apple Fitness Plus, it's like $10 a month, but if you pay annually, it's $100. So you basically get 12 months for the price of 10. I would do something like that. Unfortunately, the membership is a YouTube product. It's not a Tower Topics product. So I would absolutely do, like, if you did like silver for $30, gold for $100, and then prestige for $200 or whatever for a whole year. I would totally do that if I had the opportunity. So I've absolutely considered it. I looked into it. Unfortunately, it's just not an option. But I appreciate the question. If that ever becomes available, I'll be the first to offer it. Okay. Next up, we've got Carter from North Carolina. Carter said, hi, Don and Ryan. Listening to the podcast is always a highlight during my week, and I appreciate the hard work and dedication that you put into this for all of us Kings Island fans. Here's my question. There has been a lot of talk about parks like Kings Dominion losing their winter events, but what do y'all think of the changes to Carowinds Winterfest this year? Instead of the traditional evening hours, Carowinds will be open 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. for Winterfest and 2 p.m. to 1 a.m. for New Year's Eve. No Winterfest Wonderland Parade or Snowflake Lake ice skating, and the sentiment online is largely disappointment with the reduced time at night to see the lights. On the flip side, Carowinds will have 10 roller coasters open, including Fury 325 and Thunder Striker. If successful in the eyes of Six Flags, could a change like this come to Kings Island? Would daytime park hours enable Kings Island to add additional coasters to the event lineup? Is sacrificing the parade ice skating and the time at night enjoying the holiday lights worth it for longer park hours and increased attraction availability? Thank you both.
Well, we're going to have an episode coming up here where we're going to do a real deep dive into what Carowinds does, what Kings Island does. Could Kings Island go that route? What the benefit is for Carowinds? What the benefit possibly could be if Kings Island did that? So instead of, really going into this, right now, like I said, there'll be a full episode on this. My thoughts are, I'm not a fan of looking at Christmas lights in the daytime. So if you're going for that, and there's a lot of guests that do, and that's where a lot of that disappointment is coming from, is you need more than 90 minutes. I think it gets dark, in Charlotte, North Carolina, this time of the year around 5:15, 5:20 is when it's dark enough to really see the lights. So that basically gives you just over 90 minutes to check it out. There's a lot of park to walk around. You're not going to see everything. in that amount of time, to be able to absorb that. So it's going to be a little bit of a different feel. To me, it seems like it's a little bit more of an amusement park that's open during the holiday season, versus a holiday event kind of a thing when you do it that way. But we'll have a little bit deeper dive on that in an upcoming episode. But Ryan, you want to give your 2 cents right now?
So I'm gonna decline, because we do have that episode coming up. If you're listening to this on the drop date, then it's coming out this coming Wednesday, so the Wednesday after Thanksgiving. And we're going to debate the daytime
December 3rd.
Winterfest versus December 3rd, daytime Winterfest versus nighttime Winterfest. I have a lot of thoughts on it, and I have a lot of theories as to why they're doing it. I don't want to spill the beans now. I will tell you that what they're doing seems silly to me, unless they want to not do the lights thing anymore, which is possible. But stay tuned with that for a more in-depth answer. I don't want to spoil what's coming up. But great question, Carter. And we're going to do a whole episode based on that exact idea. All right. If you got your own questions, you can send us in an email to hosts at towertopics.com. That's hosts@towertopics.com. If you don't want to send us an email, you can send us a text or a voicemail to 513-399-7538. That's 513-399-7538. If you send us a text, we'll read it. You send us a voicemail, we may play it on the air. I'm Ryan, and that's Don. Happy Black Friday, everybody, if you're listening to this on the drop date. This is Tower Topics.